that leads me to think quite a bit about the information professions, and I want to open up this discussion a little bit more to talk about other information professions as well. My thesis is pretty simple. There are today many information professions. Liz has talked about some of them. And in 2050, there will be many more. And those people will need to be educated. So we could go to lunch now, but I'm going to show you some slides. So the thesis is that all of these information professions have something in common. They share something. And much time and energy has been spent on what it is they share. And by 2050, perhaps we will be able to talk about all of the theories and models that the information professions share. But we're not in a position to do that now because the information professions don't have that many theories. We're still working on those. We're a relatively new discipline. We do, however, have discussions about the competencies of various information professions. And so that's what I used to do a little bit of play, really. So I thought it might be interesting to look at different information professions and look at competency statements and to create wordles, because that's a way of showing you quickly kind of what those disciplines are about. And it probably won't surprise you, knowing that I'm a health sciences librarian and informatician, that I've picked quite a few from the area of health. And I've picked statements that range from 2001 to 2012. There are some differences that come from the age of these statements, but not as many as you would think. So things you might look for, and this is your challenge because you're not going to see these for very long. That's on purpose. But you might look for those concepts of data, information, and knowledge that we talk about so much. Are those included in the various information professions, or at least in these statements? You might look for the components of that information professionals work with, the resources, the systems, the users. I have a particular interest in users. I think that's where the action is, so I will bring that up from time to time. You might look for the verbs, the things that information professionals do, and you might look for the context, things like organization and society. We will mostly look at what are the big words, because that's what wordles are most good for, but we'll look at a few other things too. And so let's look at one. So I started with Marcia Bates' article on defining the information professionals in the Encyclopedia of Library and Information Science. She wrote that in 2007, and she really did a nice job of laying out the information disciplines. And so you see that information and discipline are big. And that's pretty much what you need to get from this. But you will also note, I suppose this would point if I did something. Top? Oh, all right. You would note that libraries up there and professionals over here. And there are lots of more words. This is actually wonderful because I can see many more words than I could on my iPad when I was working on this. Okay, so next we're going to go on to something called the ACES Educational Guidelines. They were done in 2001, and once again, we have some confirmation that we're talking about the information professionals, because there's information right there. I'm pleased to see science up there, because I believe it is one. Technologies are up there. And use. So we got some use going on here. those guidelines are very, very general, but they do have the important words in them. Okay. We'll move on to the ALA core competences. Do you remember when they decided they were competences and not competencies? Of librarianship, 2009. So here's a thing I find interesting. Core competences of librarianship. Oh. Librarianship must have something to do with information. That's good to know. We do have librarians here. And we have some other good words. We have services down here, and we do have libraries. And over here, we get into what kind of information it is that libraries deal with, recorded information. At least that was true in 2009. Hard to say about right now, even harder to say about 2050. Okay, the Society of American Archivists Educational Guidelines, 2011. Okay, archives and archival and words like that come up pretty big. Interesting that knowledge comes up, although I went back and looked. It's mostly in the context of people having knowledge rather than dealing with knowledge. Dealing with records, certainly. And users are down here. Not so big. You're probably wondering how many of these I did. I'm not telling. But think of how many you could do, and think of how many you could do in 2050. You didn't really want lunch, did you? ACRL, Special Collection Competencies. Okay. Well, they knew what they were writing about, right? They wrote about special collections, not surprisingly. Professional comes up quite a bit. Use is over here. And I think kind of interesting in support of what? Research. So that's really a use-related thing. And note that we have knowledge in there. I was expecting all of these to have data, information, and knowledge in them. Oh well. Special Library Association. Competencies for information professionals of the 21st century. So here we've got a group that was thinking about 2050 and beyond. It was done in 2003. Okay, we're sticking with information. Organizations, the groups that they serve, more than the organization of information. And up here, use. And here's a word we haven't seen much before, but one that's, I think, of increasing importance, and Joanne talked about it, value. Here's my code. Red medicine. Get it? I once worked in an office that formerly belonged to Blood magazine, and it was painted just that color of red. It was hard to work in. At any rate, this comes from the Medical Library Association Educational Policy Statement of 2007. Information again, health, professional. Libraries, librarians is here. That's good. And also fairly large systems. And I haven't done much about technology because there's so many words that people use to represent technology, but take my word for it, they're all here. Okay, next is the health information management competencies done by AHIMA. They're the people who do records management. in hospitals and medical practices.